Hello, everyone, and I'm happy to be here. We will have a workshop, a very mini course for about AI for managers and executives. This workshop is from AA Center. AA Center is a business ecosystem around the AI industry, started in 2019 in Sweden, and now we are present in more than around 14, 15 countries. And we are helping the industry to be more equal, safe, and secure in the AI perspective. This course is one of the educational services we are providing, and we also provide certificate and license for companies, engineers, and AI providers to make sure they have certified and trustworthy AI to provide to their customers. This course will be a 6 weeks course starting in 23rd of August. And today we will have a very brief overview of the course, and we will have a short version of that course fits in this session. Today, I will go through a presentation and bring you different topics, 5 different topics. And these topics will be, they are covered for 1 week every week in the main course, but here we will touch upon all of these 5 topics. Then we will have an example of a pseudo corporation, that is example corporation that we describe, and then we will work on how we can advise in an AI way as a manager or executive for this example company. You will work in teams, and then we will have presentation and we will have discussion on how we learn from these 5 topics and where we can apply AI, how we can apply AI, and what considerations we need to have regarding AI on that example corporation. We will start with introduction of AI. What is AI, the history, background, and contemporary rise that currently we see AI is more and more in the media and news. Then we talk about growth dilemma. It means every time we have something new and we are unprepared for that, we might have some damages. So should we prevent doing something new? Should we stop using something new? Or should we go for it and contain the damages and control the damages? That's the growth dilemma we will talk about. After that, I will talk about machine learning. What is machine learning? After AI, you might have heard machine learning more than anything else, but it is just part of AI. And we'll talk about that. What is machine learning? Should we use machine learning or buy some machine learning for our company or team? Or should we build our own machine learning system AI? And then we talk about how to add AI. Other businesses, there are a few businesses working on AI and everyone else is using AI. We want to benefit from AI. So for our company, organization, or an organization we are managing or advising, we might need to know how we can add AI to this organization to benefit and grow and not left behind the trend of AI. At the end, the last part, we will talk about management tools, how to become an AI ready manager, how to have a team that is ready for AI. As I mentioned before, each of these topics will be discussed in a whole week, and examples and practices, exercises, discussions to be able to have better understanding. But today I have to squeeze them in a couple of minutes and just tip of the iceberg, but it's good to know what are these and how you can pursue them. But you're very welcome to join us in August and September to have a more extensive course on this. Let's start with introduction to AI. Birth of AI happens around 60 years ago. the first AI machine that could play chess with human. You can see in the picture, it was at the time that we used tapes and these kind of computers to create AI or do any software engineering on them. At that time, AI was something that only computer engineers or software engineers or programmers knew about, and no one else. So for many years, it was something in academia, and it was developed and growth. And then after a couple of years, in something 90s, it started to become something that companies start using it. So different companies started using AI, but big corporation and big companies, still people, society, and other industries didn't know much about what is AI. It was an academic thing, it was a research thing, but it was being developed until early 2000 that started growing. And then in last couple of years, it started being a trend. Everyone heard about AI. Always you see AI in some news if you're following. Facebook is doing something. Human resources is doing something with AI. Our phones, computers, websites are using AI to do this and that. What happens that AI suddenly become a thing that everyone knows about? It's because AI applications are very complex and need a lot of computational power. So for you to be able to run AI program, you need a huge budget of hundreds of thousands of dollars, and in some cases millions of dollars, to be able to run some AI application. For example, the face recognition that we have on phones and in some companies to recognize your face, you need millions of dollars. You needed millions of dollars in early stages of this technology to have a computer that expensive to be able to have face recognition. But today, our phones are capable of doing that. So actually, the advancement of hardware and electronic devices made it possible to bring AI to our pockets, to our everyday life, and that's why we are seeing AI now and not before this much. Growth dilemma. Growth dilemma is about always we have new technologies, new things coming in our society, and then it disrupts a lot of different aspects of our lives. And we have this dilemma. Should we stop growing and developing and prevent damages and control damages in that way? Or should we go for it and don't care about damages? At some situations, damages are very harmful. We cannot avoid that. We cannot ignore them. So we need to make sure how to handle growth and the dilemma that it has. It's a nature of new industry. When the car industry started being more popular, horses were going out of business, stables going out of business, those who were employed by these kind of companies and businesses and stables were going out of business, and cars were everywhere. But now we don't have a problem with the car industry and we cannot live without it. But at the time, there were some damage to our society. These damages, firstly, are jobs. When new technology comes, there are new jobs and old jobs might go distinct. So, but today, if we get more and more AI in the industry, we might lose a lot more jobs that not only damage the people that are losing jobs, also the society as a whole and economy as a whole. So it's not just few people that we can compensate or put a fund for them to make sure that they can have they don't lose their family and the future and livelihood because of losing jobs. But we need to make sure that these jobs are safe and supported, and make sure that AI is not damaging that. AI itself has specific potential damages to society. Safety and security are two of them. When we had other industries started, they didn't have these kind of damages. One of the industries that was like AI and had these kind of damages and dilemma was pharmaceutical industry. When we started using pills and things like that, we didn't know how to regulate that. We didn't know what to do exactly with that. So everyone that had some idea, they could make a syrup, pill, or medicine and sell it to public. At some point, you might have heard of this historic fact that at some point we started selling cocaine as a medicine, opium as a medicine. We included cocaine and opium in different medicine and tablets and pills for health matters. But later that would get better in standardization and regulation of the industry, now we know the medicine we use are safe. AI could have safety problems and security problems. If AI is not secure, I might lose access to my bank account. Someone maybe could enter my home and hack into my home because AI is not safe enough or secure enough. And my car might do something that kills me. If my car doesn't understand to stop at some point and make a crash that me and some other people get into danger, is not safe. So we need to make sure that AI is safe and secure. And lastly, the growth dilemma here is the misuse of AI. If we have this technology in hands of wrong people with bad intention, they might damage in many different ways. The same with guns, the same with other materials. But we have rules and regulation around the world that despite this many guns out there or this many cars that could potentially kill people out there, we are not seeing cars as a machine of mass destruction or killing people, because we have regulations, we teach people how to drive before using that. We have safeties, guards, rules on street, so we don't have that much problems that we used to think we will have at the beginning. So the misuse is something we need to consider and how to deal with it to have the growth and not have those damages. The other section is machine learning. Machine learning is one of the fields of AI. AI as a whole is a system that looks intelligent and smart. It's a system that if you look at it, you say, wow, it looks like someone is behind this and some agent, some person is behind this and thinking. So machine is doing something like it is intelligent. One of the areas is robotics. The other one is dialogue management. When you talk to Siri, it looks like it understands you. It's a machine, how it understands. It's intelligent, it's AI, but it's dialogue management, for example. The most known field of AI that is more and more available for public because of this relevancy to the social matters and personal life and private use is machine learning. Machine learning started, the first machine learning system that we know is, if you look at the picture, there are matchboxes there. And these matchboxes are put in an order with different marbles in them, and there is a system there. It's not a computer, it's a set of 300 matchboxes. And then if you want to play tic-tac-toe, you draw lines and put your X somewhere on the these 9 boxes. And then there is an instruction which matchbox you need to look into to see this matchbox's next move. And they give you some instruction what to do next, and then put an O for matchboxes. And then you put an X and then follow the instruction of matchboxes, and then they put an O. At the end, you're playing against matchboxes. You can search on YouTube and see how it works and see how magical this matchboxes, just physical objects, can play a game with you and most of the time win. But they have machine learning system in it. The system there now used from that time to create machine learning AI thing. It's a tool, and there are a lot of applications for that. Today, we create applications. Instead of matchboxes, we have different kind of programs to put different relations and how it works. We have this vision of how street looks like. Should I turn? Shouldn't I turn? So the car knows how to do that. It's a very advanced form of that matchboxes. So if you understand how those matchboxes works, you will understand almost how this system in principle work that you can see on the screen. And then we can have this instant understanding every millisecond that where is what? Do I detect a car? Do I detect a traffic light? Do I detect a dog, a person, and everything like that? These are advancements that we have. Instead of 300 matchboxes, billions of virtual matchboxes in a code in computer application that understand these. So now we touch upon a few things about AI. Let's get back to non-AI businesses. I have a business, I have a team, I'm a manager at an organization or a corporation or a small business. And I hear about AI and how crazy, miraculous, advanced technology it is, and I might be able to use it. Otherwise, others use it and I left behind. I can use it in a way to improve everything in my business, to move forward, to be more profitable, help people better, help my employees better, and so forth and so on. So how to add AI to our business? This is an example that a business might look like something like this. We might have suppliers, we are related to suppliers, we have sellers, productions, products, and everything in place. Business to business are different, but it's a good example to have many different parts. If I'm looking at a business and I want to say, oh, now we need AI. First, I need to know where do I need AI, where I can add AI. First, product. Is my product something I can add AI to? If I'm producing shoes, maybe product is not the best area that I can put AI in it. If I'm building a game, a mobile game, maybe in that game I can put some AI to do something for me. So product is the first thing you can look into. Is my product something that I can add AI into it? If not, maybe somewhere else. Production. The way I produce my product, maybe I can use AI there. Maybe the factory that I'm producing something, I can add AI so the machine or robot that is doing something can do it better. Maybe I can add some sensor and computer at the end to distinguish if a product is correctly made or not, or put it in other bucket or other line to move in different path. Those places maybe I can use AI. If I'm producing a mobile app, maybe I can use it in the development process. So when I put a code in the system, AI can check if there is a problem or not, or wait, or something like that. When we are talking about product and production, then we can talk about management. In many different organizations, businesses, and institutions, we have management. One person, one team, or several departments being management department, managers. So how we can use AI there? What we are doing there that AI can help us to do better? That's another area. The other area is, the other way to think is either internal or external use of AI. Am I better using AI in internal matters that my customer don't know about and they never know about. So I improve my business with AI and no one knows but the employees and people are working with me. Or I can use AI in a way that my customers understand it and customers are related to. So if they are chatting, calling tech support or calling support or sales department or ordering something or going online to order something, they might realize that, oh, there is no one here and the system is suggesting me something and then answering me and then saying, someone will answer your call, but meanwhile we can ask you a couple of questions to answer you, and maybe the question is answered and you never talk to a human on the line or chat. So you can see the AI is happening somewhere. So it could be internal or customer relation that we can use AI. I'm over time, but I will go a little bit faster here. Management toolbox. Managers have different methods and tools to do management. We have charts, we have diagrams, we have methods, we have systems that how to manage company, finance, human resource, sales. To manage anything, we have different methods, tools, paradigms to use. One of them could be AI. How to use AI in management. First of all, if we want to enable our organization to use AI, we need to have an AI-ready team. A team that understands AI, not as an engineer or programmer or computer person, but as a person that understands what is AI and what AI is not, and how we can use AI and how we cannot use AI. If the team is
Reza, we cannot hear you. Maybe try to switch off and on your mic. We lost you just like a minute ago. We cannot hear you. Can you switch on your mic? You are muted for some reason now. Can you say something? Reza, do you hear us? Reza, can you hear us?
Yes.
Now we hear you again. Sorry, we lost you like 2 minutes ago. We couldn't hear anything. So I assumed your last.
Yes. Let me know how far did you hear me. Did you hear me when I was on this page? Or?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So when we are talking about AI-ready team, we are talking about enabling organizations to use AI. Therefore, we need to make sure that our team are familiar with AI, to not think science fiction about AI and be more realistic to be able to apply AI or adapt to AI to use AI. But the last thing that a manager should be able to decide and analyze and understand is where and why we should use AI, or maybe we need to buy something in our organization, buy AI, install in-house and use, or maybe we need to order to build an AI for our use. So choosing between use, buy, and build is something that managers should be able to understand, analyze the cost, the result, the specifications. If something that I want is not out there, I need it for myself, I need it to be isolated, I need it to be customized, or it is something that is out there and I can just subscribe or buy it online and use it online, like something added to my Excel sheet or human resource management systems. So those decisions are something that managers need to be able to analyze and decide. So now this is the collaboration part of the exercise, the workshop, the exercise part of the workshop. We want to, when we do it in August, September, it is after 5 weeks of covering these topics that I try to cover in 5-6 minutes each. So it is not something that you expect to do the best right now, but we give it a try. Based on few things that I mentioned, we want to think, if there is a company called Sudocorp, it's an example random company for the purpose of this exercise. And this company is in fashion industry. They buy materials, they design clothing, and they have factories to produce this clothing and handbags and shoes and everything like that. And then they have distribution systems, and they have stores around the world in different countries, and they sell it to their customers. They have online sales, and they have this brand has everything from the production to sales, the whole supply chain. So imagine this company hires us, all of us in this meeting today, and tell us that you are a team, I pay you, give us advice. What should we do with AI? So we want to think together, discuss together, brainstorm based on what we talked about and what we know about AI, and come up with something, some idea for this company. Maybe you can do like this. You need to move this and that. You need to decide in this way. You need to allocate this much money in this area to improve this with AI. Anything that we can think of. And then we can discuss that, and this discussion help us to understand better and what areas we are not thinking correctly, which areas is, wow, amazing, and we can go for that. So I suggest 10 to 15 minutes, maybe. Let me see how many people we are right now here.
17.
Okay, maybe we can have 3 breakout rooms.
Okay, yeah.
And if you can have 3 breakout rooms and distribute people in these rooms, and people have discussion for 10-15 minutes, and then we can come back and they present what they thought and what areas they were thinking and discussing, and then we discuss there a little bit to understand if they got it correct or not.
Okay. Basant.
We have 6 more people here. Oh. We have 4 more people out of rooms.
Now, yes.
Are you not?
Please join the session.
Are you not at the help desk anymore?
Sir, we have only me in the room, breakout room 2.
Anton and Johannes didn't go to any rooms, and Chadi,
Yes,
maybe we can move Chadi to room 3 to have some roommate to work with.
because me, I'm alone on room 2.
Yeah, let's move.
Let's
Let's
move.
move it to room 3.
We still have a few minutes, exactly. Correct? Or do you want to have us back?
Let's give them 5 more minutes.
Okay.
Hi everyone, Naka, did you join? But I'm Nikki. Hi everyone, and welcome to Rakameya from my side. I'm family co-chair of the Therapy Network. I think we should start. Yeah, and now we have the room and everyone to our function. And looking forward to such an interesting session.
I cannot enter the help desk because you are not there anymore.
interact with you, but I read everything.
So shall we rejoin? Oh, we cannot hear you. You have to switch your microphone.
So
Yes.
let's wait 1 more minute.
Okay.
You take everyone on board, and yeah, so this is the way I see it. But in which field are you working, Katja and Shetty?
Myself, I'm in the product development for data services, and currently we are working on data processing for AI.
Yes, you can implement AI in
We're not
Okay, let's close the rooms and
we're on
set them back.
freelancer platforms with which they application freelancers and over their jobs that have to do with data processing, data processing, and data.
Okay, the all breakout sessions are closed now, so.
Good. Welcome back, everybody. So, who wants to start saying what you have discussed in the breakout rooms? Anyone? Islam, Lena, Mariam?
Okay, I can start. So we've discussed a few options. First, focusing on the consumer, since it's a fashion industry, it could be a fashion recommendation engine based on the previous consumer behavior. The company could recommend and produce clothing that consumer is more likely to buy, so by that increasing its sales.
Mm-hmm.
The second one could be chatbot, conversational assistance. So the customers have 24/7 support if they need any help with the sizing or any other questions that they have. So improving the customer experience. The third one was in the waste management. As in fashion industry, there's a lot of waste going into recycling clothes and the fabric. So encouraging recycling of the old clothes by way of promoting sustainability and offering the clients discounts if they do bring old clothes and they get new ones. So here it can potentially be also used. The fourth one is supply chain, as to choosing the most sustainable suppliers to work with and ranking them in terms of sustainability. That could also be one of the areas. And in general, creating an awareness across the company about the AI and the value can bring to the company. That's also very important, so that everyone is aligned and corporate culture is aligned. That's what we've discussed in our group.
Good. Thank you. We will get back to these and we discuss them. So let's see what the other group discussed about. Lena, I see you were started.
I wanted actually to say that me, Islam, and Mariam, we were shifted a bit our discussion. We did not nail the question because we were discussing who needs to study AI, and even the discussion went to like children's or not, and also the securities and the fears about what do we do with AI. So we stayed on the level. We did not go to the challenge, which we will continue later.
Okay, tell me more what you discussed in the team. Tell me more about that.
I think, yeah, I started, like Lena said, in our group, I started by just saying my own dilemma of just being now in a startup and being a company leader and having a passion to data that I was pursuing. Now I'm a product manager. Should I learn AI? Should I learn all the aspects by myself, or should I be able to be just an enabler, someone who knows AI as you know, the culture itself, and getting a specialized person to do it and not code by my own hands, as they say. And this is from where this discussion took through, because I was in this dilemma for a year until, you know, before this session for like some days or some weeks. And then I decided, yeah, I'm a product manager. I just need to enable the idea, not to code it by myself, you know.
How about security and fear that you mentioned, Lena? Islam, what did you guys discuss about security and fear?
So I guess at this part, correct me if I'm wrong, Lena, but in this part, whether or not it's possible to start implementing AI and getting the culture all over whatever cross industries you have. But the problem that could persist is that you could have, you know, you could have the tool or the product of AI being used in not the good way, not the peaceful way, just as we've seen before with you know, nations conflicts or stuff like that. This was one of the fears, or I guess one of the fears, Lena, that we talked about were, you know, people being substituted by machines.
Yeah.
Jobs.
Mariam was actually the one mentioning, you know, that we need to teach kids AI, whether we need to teach kids AI. So maybe Mariam, you can say a bit about why do you feel like this is a necessity, if you're willing to share.
Yeah, we were talking about, thank you, Lena and Islam. We were talking about the ethics that should go align with any implementation or adaptation of AI, as with other technologies, as well as the feel like sometimes, you know, if you do a Google search on any topic, you would see that all your social media platforms that are connected, they will direct you towards this topic, which sometimes this is lack of democracy, or like it's controlling what you can see and depriving you of seeing the other part. So it's mainly manipulating you. At the same time, like with the quick development of technology, I think that it's very important to prepare kids for this revolution and have them understand it's not just about coding and learning to code, but has to understand what is AI and how does it work, to have a knowledgeable like kids or future generation to be at least knowledgeable with what is going around them, and to be able to cope with these changes in a healthy way. So this is mainly what we're talking about.
Anything else to discuss in this group?
I was in another group. I was with Katya together, and also discussed, okay, in the companies that people already are working, the companies will need to, I don't want to say improve the educational quality of their employees who already is involved in their companies. It will also cost, I assume, money, and you will need resources for that to improve their educational skills.
Okay, let's go in order that you talked about very interesting points, and I'm happy to see that two different groups had completely two different approach, and it gives me an opportunity to discuss more with you. First, I heard was customer behavior, customer suggestion based on behavior and previous purchase, for example. And the last thing I heard was about the ethics, manipulation, and lack of privacy. These two are very same thing, but two different sides of the same coin. So we can use AI to analyze customer behavior and provide better suggestion for customers. And the other hand, we need to make sure this information is kept private, and even no engineer could access this information for specific customer or nail down to realize who has thought in which way. And also, for the sake of this is the privacy part, and for the keyword manipulation, possible manipulation with corporations, we know that as a corporation or as a company, we could affect people how they think. And if you're familiar with the concept of nudging, it means doing small things and people change behavior. And that means you have a powerful tool to impact, to manipulate in worst case. To prevent that, we need to make sure that we give enough information to customer or visitors to say, we have AI that based on this type of information has concluded this and that. Do you want to remove one of these parameters or behaviors or information to recalculate? Things like that would be the best way. So when I go to the pseudocorp website and want to order something, it says, we have collected a couple of behaviors and information in these categories. We cannot provide all the details, of course, it's confusing. And would you like them to be considered when we provide you suggestion? And maybe I turn them off, maybe I remove some of them and then get some suggestion. And I say, no, look at me as just public person and even not my region that I'm using the system. Don't look at me as someone from Sweden or Dubai or Beijing or anything, just general information. So the AI could be able to reevaluate, recalculate, and suggest something. But if it is based on my size, my age, and I want them to be considered, maybe I don't want to get suggestion on the clothes, that might not be something that I would consider. So maybe the gender I would like to be identified as could be a good input for the system to bring me some suggestion. And this sort of thing. Being more transparent is good. This is one point, actually a mix of 2 points that you all mentioned that I'm talking about. We will talk about others, but this is what we need to be, what it means to be AI ready. Now that we are discussing this, you have these concerns. If in any organization or company or your current business, you talk to an AI provider or AI engineer or someone that is applying something, you might ask, can we do this? Can we consider this kind of transparency? Can we make sure, or how we can make sure that? So these are the concerns that if the team of in organization is AI ready, it means we know these concerns, we know these are possible, and if engineer says, no, we cannot do that, no, it couldn't be that way. So this is necessary. Now, I'm not going in order now for this one, but for relevancy, we go back to the teaching employees that you mentioned, and kids and corporate culture about AI. These are also covered following the necessity of being AI ready team, AI ready corporation. And bigger any size of the company, bigger company or very small family shop store or workshop, for example, building, I don't know, making some wallets and shoes, and very small workshop, family workshop maybe, any size of company, any type of company, they need to be ready for sustainable growth, for future generation, and make sure employees stay longer and take care of people working with, because in that way we can manage to go ups and downs in business and benefit and be a family business in the business. So doesn't matter if it's a small family workshop or is a big corporation, we need to make sure that we teach employees and make sure that their kids even are familiar, so it can be brought in their homes. So these are being AI ready. Now I go back to the order of the things that has mentioned. First was customer behavior suggestion from the room 3, and the second was chatbot assistant 24/7 support. That's relevant to the first one for the customer experience. And this is chat support AI and dialogue management AI that are available. A lot of companies provide these services as software as a service. It means like Gmail, that you don't install Gmail on your computer. You go to gmail.com to do that. Zoom, you install Zoom, but you don't buy the application that you are installing. You just install free application and use the service they are providing on their servers and computers. If you're not connected to internet, you cannot use Zoom or Gmail. So software as a service is something that they create on their web server or servers, and you pay a cost or something or price to use that. These kind of software as a service are available for chatbots, support AI, and those kind of things that your company can look into, search for, and ask for experts to suggest some of the best that is relevant to your business. Register your company, pay monthly fee for a basic or advanced subscription, and then add it to your system to support customers through that. So you don't need to even buy and install on your website, but just connect it to your website and use it. That's these kind of thinking you can apply to other AI and search or ask AI experts that, do you know any software as a service AI that gives me this functionality or that functionality, or we can tweak it to use it. This is a good start to do that. You also mentioned waste management, recycling by promoting discount if they bring the used materials or old purchases or something like that. I'm not sure if I understood the relevancy to AI here. If anyone wants to explain how it is relevant to our workshop or AI? Chadi, Katia, Marta, Shirin, anyone in that group? Do you remember when you discussed about waste management? What was?
Yes, of course I can. It was my idea. So in terms, because we're in the clothing industry, there's the cycle of the clothing these days is very short. So there is a lot of clothes that end up in the dumps, and they contribute to polluting the environment. So if the company could encourage its consumers to bring back the clothes they no longer need, so they can reuse these materials and produce other clothing out of this, and consumers in the end would receive a discount or any other sort of promotion offer. By that, it would the business would become more sustainable, and less pollution would be, less clothes would end up in the dumps.
Riza, can I just build on top of what Katia now was mentioning? I know that in Zalando is this big fashion company here in Germany that really delivers fashion to homes. a huge department of data and AI was built in order to fit the right size. And many people are just working to really, in a very smart way, to find out how do you make sure that people get the right size of the clothes, because otherwise it's going to be so much costs of returning the clothes, not being happy with them, rating the clothes lower just because the size does not fit. So already by creating chatbots or whatever algorithms to help find out the right spot, so that less will be wasted. This is what I also sort of understood when Katya was talking about the idea.
Absolutely. And once I read an article, I was absolutely shocked when I found out that all the clothes that we order, but then we don't like them and we return them, they just, companies just like Zara and Mango, they just dispose of them because it's much cheaper than just then go into verification whether it's been any wear and tear and whether the item is resellable. They just throw them directly in the dumps. That was shocking to me.
Thank you, Lina, for the example. We have also Zara building new machines and techniques that using the used materials to recycle them and use them to build new products. But regardless of what kind of advice you are giving to any company, if the waste management and recycling is something that they need to consider, it's our job to give them this advice that I'm here to give you financial advice, but maybe you need to reconsider recycling and waste management, and these are the best practices that you can use. This is, I think, as a human being, our obligation to provide, and not saying, I'm here just for legal advice, I don't care about anything else. But let's go to the next item, supply chain. To choose sustainable partners or vendors or supply to work with for transportation and delivery of the products. Did I get it correctly?
Yes. Again, it goes into the sustainability process, and you mentioned that it might not have financial incentive, but actually, if you think from the point of how many NGOs, how many governments are now promoting SDGs, so you might find that if you're employing sustainable practices, you would be actually benefiting financially from certain tax subsidies or from government subsidies. So it might have a financial result as well. And so here falls also the supply chain, so that AI could be used to optimize the supply chain and select the providers based on their sustainability as an option.
So how we can use AI in this strategy?
Perhaps the time to turn around the orders, the time that it takes supplier to deliver certain goods could be taken into account, how reliable the supplier is. So the engine, I'm just thinking out loud, the engine could filter out those suppliers that provide the best pricing, the best conditions of delivery, and at the same time they are also sustainable and environmentally friendly. So these suppliers will be ranked higher than the other ones, and by that the supply chain could be optimized.
Good. There is one thing that
We
has...
can
Go ahead, Chadi.
A to Z via AI. So the consumer knows everything about his order from production till end user.
Thank you. There is, regarding this, there is a concern that companies like Amazon has been working on, is to make sure that you have the best sustainable, both environmentally and financially for the company, to have better delivery systems and transportation. So you need to make sure you fill the box, you use the good size packaging, you make sure that you fill the truck completely, and in total in a year you might be able to use less carbon footprint for delivery if you make sure that you use the right distribution system. One of the things that you can do is to distribute things that you predict that could be ordered. So if you're sending a package, a container, or a truck to an area, and you have more space to fill up, you can use AI to predict what else I can put there that I think it would be ordered in near future. So I fill up the truck and make sure that those orders, before being ordered, being delivered to the checkpoint or distribution center or something like that, to avoid the external shipment. This has been worked in at Amazon. They created an AI to predict orders. It works like they predict orders before taking in place. So it's not a lot of orders they're predicting. There are a lot of orders they're predicting, but it's not a high percentage. It's a very low percentage, 0.0 something 1% of the orders they are predicting. And what they do is they predict someone might order something in next 2-3 days or weeks. So when they are delivering in that area and they have enough space to include that package, they do that even though they haven't received any order. And then it goes, and then even it goes up to delivering to the person. And it has happens that more than 90 something percent of the deliveries delivered a couple of hours or days after the order being in place, but shipped before the order being in place. So the AI estimated that Reza will order something, this item, something between this period of time. So we start shipping it to Reza. They shipped it, and before it arrived to my home, I actually ordered it. And they already sent it. More than 90 something percent of the things they sent has been ordered before it received. And they had a note on that if you haven't ordered this item, you can either pay for it and keep it, or if you don't even want this item to order or pay, you can keep it as a present from Amazon. So in this way, they avoid returning the item and something like that. So they increased the sales by this, decrease the delivery time, and decrease the carbon footprint by doing this. This is an example that how extreme you can go. A company large as Amazon is can afford something like this, and it will have significant, considerable impact environmentally and financially and customer satisfaction way. This is not something I might implement in my business, but it is something I can consider when I'm thinking AI in my business. The other thing that mentioned here is awareness about AI and value in the company, corporate culture, that I think discussed in both groups, but group 3 mentioned it with this wording. Sorry. And I think we talked about that at the beginning, that corporate culture and being AI ready and value of AI and things like that is helping both company and employees and society. That is one of the reasons that we have these kind of workshops and courses to provide, to make sure that it is available for those who want to have AI ready team, AI ready company, and AI aware business. The next is improve educational quality of employees. I think it is relevant also to the same topic. And one of the things that discussed was about jobs and AI taking over jobs. We have had a lot of discussion in AI ethics in Sweden, in AI Center itself, different committees. We had this discussion, and also in Special Committee of AI in European Parliament, we had this discussion that how we can make sure that AI have less and less, closer to not impact of job losses. One of the solutions that we came up with was a new perspective of AI. Instead of thinking of AI as something to help me have less employees, therefore less cost, therefore larger margin and profit, we can think of AI as a tool to improve employees' work, therefore better market, more sales, and bigger margin. Simplified example is I have 10 employees doing something. I don't know what kind of business we can think of. Just imagine 10 employees doing something that can be either replaced by AI, some of them replaced by AI, or maybe we can use some sort of AI to help them do better. So imagine I could remove 5 of them and have AI working for me, and the cost of that AI could be almost as I have 1 extra employee. So I remove 5 employees, I have AI, the cost of 1 of those employees I removed, so I'm saving 4 employees' expenses, salaries to have this AI. So I'm doing the same thing, but 4 less employees' cost or salary or finance expenses that I might have for employees. Instead of this, and that means profit for my company. Instead of this, I can think of AI to enable my employees to do double result, not double work, but double result, double effect, being more effective, more productive with the same work, but with new tools. It means my 10 employees could work as if I had, for example, 15 or 20 employees. So I'm actually expanding my business with the expense of 1 employee, but the result of like adding double workforce to my business. So this kind of philosophy, this kind of strategy could help to not only prevent job losses, but also increase the quality of the work, the benefit of employees, the benefit of the employer, and profit for the company. In the chat, I see that can AI create new jobs? Yes, definitely. New technology create new jobs, and that's good. We need to adopt and educate people to be able to use that, but we need to make sure that the vulnerable section of the society are those who cannot adapt, and they might lose their job and they might not get better jobs. Truck drivers in US had this problem that the union realized there are many truck companies adding AI, self-driving trucks, adopting self-driving trucks, and many truck drivers might not be able to find a new job that could give them the same or close to the same salary they had. And for them might not be easy to adapt to AI. Maybe if they learn carpentry or something else would be a lot easier rather than adapting with AI. But what they can do is to learn how to use their phone, new apps, and things like that, GPS and those kind of things, but advance and more advanced and more advanced to adapt their work to have better result. The gap is the risk, yes, and that is why we are trying to be proactive at AI Center towards AI, because if we don't adapt and we don't consider being proactive in considering the problems, we might have bigger losses and bigger bad effect. So we need to be prepared, AI ready, and have different solution for different sections and different societies and different people, different industries, to have most possible smooth transition to the better future with better technology. To upgrade their skills, that's a big challenge. In some areas it's possible, in some areas it's really, really impossible. Next generation is the easiest to help them, but the problem is with the current working labor that might lose their job because their job would be irrelevant in the future. So there has been a lot of jobs that has been removed from society and we don't have them anymore. There are some words, if you see in dictionary and you need to read description, it's a job. The person who does this with these tools had this job, and it's becoming ancient for us. And those jobs or those kind of things are the shifts in society that we are changing, evolving the society and labor work to a different era. And in between, there are those who can adapt, who can jump over, who can get less damage in this move. But there are people, it doesn't matter how many or how percentage of the society they are, but there are considerable percentage of the society that get the damage that cannot be easily supported. So there are a lot of discussions, but it's case by case, industry by industry, that we can have different solutions and different approaches. Ethics of AI also mentioned, and the ethics of AI, there are different talks about ethics of AI and regulation of AI. There is a famous response to regulatory mindset for AI that they say you cannot regulate technology. That's correct. If you hear it anywhere, that's correct. You cannot regulate technology, but you can regulate use of technology, providers of technology. And that applies to the technologies that we're already using, and we don't see them as technology. Cars are advanced technologies if you live 100 years ago. And today we don't see them as technology unless it's a new car, new Tesla, new Polestar or something like that. Oh, new car, new technology. But car itself, the oldest car that we might have or we might be able to use, is a technology that we never regulated, but we are regulating companies that are making cars. You shouldn't put car with this specification on the streets. So they can build car, but they cannot sell a car that might explode on the street. So you need to make sure that how to use that technology and what kind of product you put on a street. So we're not saying the car technology or different technologies in the car are wrong, shouldn't be done. No, we are saying this car that might have this effect shouldn't be on the street. We have regulation of using cars on the street. We have red lights. We follow that. We are not regulating the technology of the car. We are regulating the way we use it to be able to adopt that. For AI is the same. We cannot regulate the technology. People are creating AI, might do crazy stuff, but we can regulate the way we use it. We can regulate the way that if you are hiring people, you are not allowed to use AI to figure out how they react on private social media. So that's not regulation on social media, that's regulation on hiring process. So these kind of things comes from ethics perspective and safety and security perspective are the way that we regulate and consider how we use AI, how we produce AI, how our product or their product would behave. So we need some sort of regulation at some places, and we need ethical aspects to be discussed, since the reason that I can do something doesn't give me legitimacy to do that if it is harmful, insecure, and it's damaging someone or something. We have 10 minutes to the end of today's session. I'd like to have open mic here. Anyone that has any concern, any question, any feedback, we can have open discussion. But I think if you have something else to do and you need to go, feel free. But the next 10 minutes, I'm here and we can have open discussion if anyone has any question or topic to discuss. Or maybe everyone fall asleep. I was talking.
No, it was very interesting. A lot of new information that me personally I wasn't familiar with. But there was a question at the beginning, I guess, that the question was about the course you are giving. Just a second. At the beginning, you told us that you will give the course, and there was the question how we can join it if someone is interested.
Yes, I think I replied that, but I copy paste.
Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. I see. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So they don't need to go back to find it. Also, you can email info@aacenter.sc and ask a question. Shirin wrote about gender equality. Yes, that's a very important issue, and we have a specific committee for gender equality and diversity at AA Center that we are working hard with. Largest Pride organization in Sweden, West Pride, and head of West Pride is member of this committee at AA Center. But I'd like you, Shirin, to give me a pointer. What do you think about AI and gender equality? Which example you have or concern you have?
Okay, thank you very much. I read last year a UNESCO report with the title "I'd Blush If I Could," which analyzed the language of Alexa and Co. And it was very how you call it, surprising in a negative way, that the data they receive, Siri and Alexa, etc., are full of online gender violence, they when they being sexually harassed verbally, of course, they would answer, I'd blush if I could, and this was the title of the report. So how do you see this, and what can we do about it?
We have a lot of different areas about gender equality and diversity matters, and they are very relevant to AI and technology as a broader sense, not just AI, but it's a lot more. And AI is more and more putting fuel in this fire. I'm not expert in this area, but I have been with my colleagues and events at AA Center regarding this matter. So what I'm saying is not my expertise, it's my general knowledge that I've been enthusiastically following. There is a big concern about gendering assistants. So voice assistant and robot assistants shouldn't be gendered, and there are companies are working on that to make sure that the voice or the face doesn't look very specific gender. The problem that I realized was there to have more pushing the society and especially men to feel aggressive against a female because of the assistant is a female and should follow the order and listen to the man. And since the assistant, the technological assistant like Siri, is something that needs to be submissive in a way that follow orders because it's created to do something for the user, then this balance is created that especially men can order women to do something, and we are creating this kind of culture by this. So me and many other friends of mine, we have changed the voice of our assistant to male voice to make sure that we take at least one small step, even though symbolic or something, to show that there is a big problem here to consider. There are this is this social and cultural aspect that I'm really uncomfortable discussing because I'm not an expert. I might say something that is not right or correct or not cover the right portion of the matter and pointing out some small insignificant part, and there might be some significant aspects that should be considered. But there is another thing that I'm better expert in is gender bias and minority bias in AI. That I've been part to work with Gender Equality and Diversity Committee in AA Center. It comes from data collection. When we talked about machine learning for a couple of minutes today, and machine learning works like this. We create an application, a system, a technology, a strategy, and then feed it with information, and it learns. Therefore, it can behave as it is smart or understands stuff. So one example that has happened a couple of years ago, many years ago, is that there was a company, Chinese company, that created an advanced AI technology, and it was a camera putting on entrance doors of buildings. So the door of buildings that automatically open when you get close wouldn't open for non-humans. So if a dog or a cat or a pigeon get close, don't trigger the door to open. They had more and more advanced at that time, So if you have a mask or if you cover your face, if you carry a gun, the door doesn't open. So it was face recognition, human recognition, and a lot of things happening there to make sure that the right people get into. So there was a bank in one of the states in US that bought this system and applied to all the many branches, not all, many branches in that state. So that bank prevent people that are fully covered face couldn't enter to the bank, or at least the door not automatically open and trigger. In China, they use it because in some area it had happened that there were a lot of pets or dogs or wild cats on the street that might trigger this to open. But in US, they used it for the bank. But the problem that quickly they removed it from the system was that it was discriminatory against non-Asians. So it was always open to Asian looking people, and it was really hard to open for non-Asian looking people. So especially white people were very angry that they don't recognize us as a human, and mostly if I look more Asian or Chinese, they open. The problem was data collection for this machine learning. They used a very specific type of face and ethnicity and race to teach the machine. So, and they had no idea it will be used somewhere that people might look a bit differently. So it was not diversity considered. Therefore, one of the things is, if you want to use AI, you need to make sure they have gender bias and minority bias consideration in AI. How they can do that is to make sure the data they are using to teach their AI is like that. So we have created courses, workshops for AI companies and data labeling companies to teach them what are the concerns you need to have to make sure that your AI is not biased against a group of people, a minority or different genders. It's a long process, and different agents are playing in this, but we're providing to data companies, AI companies, and those who are buying AI and using AI to make sure that less and less we have gender bias and minority bias in AI.
Then I have a question.
Yes.
When you have a LinkedIn, when you want to apply for a certain position, let's say as a marketing, we have 5,000 resume. So in LinkedIn, we have AI, we put certain keyword in order to sort certain resume, or the problem, or we human learning.
Products like LinkedIn have a lot of different AI in the background working, but companies as large as LinkedIn are usually very careful about the way they use AI for these matters. What I know about LinkedIn is that they are using AI to see which candidate for a job would be more relevant. And that relevancy comes from what they share, what different information they provide on LinkedIn, and they are adding different features to take in consideration when they are doing that kind of classification or ranking for people and saying which one is relevant. One of the big things that they look into is location, geographical location from the job that has been posted and the applicant that is applying for that job. Other thing is the previous jobs the person has posted that I had. The other thing is requirement that is included in the post job advertise something. And one other is LinkedIn has this quick quizzes that you can take, and it can evaluate if you're good in one field or not. In some skills, they have this. So there are many different skills. If you say, I have this skill, then LinkedIn suggests, we have a quiz. Do you want to take quiz so we know how good you are in that skill? And then you can do that. These are the information that I know they use to connect them. And also they have this algorithm that make sure that you have right enough information. If you don't put your name completely, if you don't put at least 2 names, first name, last name in your LinkedIn, if you don't, if your connections on LinkedIn are almost not connected to each other, it looks suspicious as a real person that you are, or something like that. If you don't have a picture profile, if you don't have enough information in your description, there are parameters like that that makes it a legit profile or incomplete profile. And this is a big difference they consider also in their calculation and AI. These are things that I know, but not more than that. Any other question, concern? The time is over, but if you have anything else, we can take that as a last point and last question. If not, we can wrap it up.
Last chance.
Last call. Okay,
Alright.
thank you,
Sir,
everyone.
also, may I have a question? The
Yes.
majority of company have a chatbot. Chatbot, it's considered a AI and not machine learning, because machine learning based on statistics.
Chatbots, most of them using machine learning, and some of them are just algorithmic, like they look in a specific phrase. If you use, they suggest you something, but most of them today are using machine learning based on whatever question that you ask, and they respond and you react on that. They learn from that for the next person and next person and next person. So gradually with your communication, they learn how to behave. And I think we can close this session. Thank you,
Yes.
everyone, for joining. You have my information, acenter.sc, and also information in the chat. If you want to connect on LinkedIn, follow on LinkedIn, or email us at info@acenter.sc. And also you can connect the Rakameya to get more information if you want to connect to us, or anyone you can find out regarding
Thank
to
you, sir.
or us, you can connect and get more information. It's easy to find us online.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for joining us, and join us at our next sessions. Have
We
a nice
a
day.
list to fill.